I know in 5 years I got a guy that can win me a Super Bowl. I'm not ready to say that about Love yet, although if I have to choose of having him or not, I'm going to choose to have him.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I'm with you. Yeah. Like this year, again, was a year for him to prove that, to show that those last sort of 8 games was the Jordan Love we were going to get, and it's been cut short. So hopefully when he comes back, he'll be able to answer that.
Even if we're being like liberal in our assessment of what a franchise quarterback is, by our standards, let's throw Hurts, Dak, and Love in.
Okay.
It's still only 8 guys.
Yeah,
it's still only 8 of 32 guys. Could you be the fan of that team and say, I'm 100% confident in my quarterback for the future? I think that really showcases kind of where these teams are in picking quarterbacks. Like you go with Bryce Young, what didn't happen. It looks to me like only 8 of the 32 do you feel like confidently it has happened.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you have all these stories this year in the league of quarterbacks who we've just like plucked out of nowhere and are doing well, at least for now, right? Baker Mayfield, as a Saints fan, I was out on Derek Carr. Last year, I was like, Jameis Winston looks better starting than Derek Carr.
You guys didn't want your fan base did not want him to be the quarterback this year.
Did not want him to be the quarterback. Was wondering, how can you get? Obviously, the Saints could not get out of that contract because of the way it was structured. But it was like there's got to be somebody else besides Derek Carr. So there's Sam Darnold, there's Derek Carr, there's Baker Mayfield. There's like even Justin Fields is 2-0 right now. So there is like cobbling together wins with quarterbacks that we had sort of cast aside. Flacco last year, right? Like they're just cobbling together these wins. But the problem is you're not winning against Patrick Mahomes unless you – I don't think you're winning against Patrick Mahomes unless you have one of these top-tier level quarterbacks.
I'm totally with you. So I think the difference between a Flacco, a Nick Folk, even like a Brock Purdy or a Jared Goff, I think they can get you to the gates of the promised land, but St. Peter is not letting you in with them. Right. They can get you to the Super Bowl. All right, they can get you in that game. There's a long history of dudes that were decent winning getting to the Super Bowl, but the amount of guys that won a Super Bowl in the modern salary cap era that are not a rock star quarterback is what? Flacco, and that's it? I mean, it just doesn't happen, and that's why I think if you want to say who's going to win the Super Bowl over the next 5 years, pick one of those 8 teams. David, it's going to be one of those 8 probably, right? Yeah, and even if we look at Flacco, he played out of his mind for like 5 weeks. That was like, that was it. And you got to have that capability to do that, and there's not a lot of guys who could do that. Yeah, I guess Nick Folk was another one. Nick Folk, right? Out of his mind for a few years. All right, there's a lot of games that we haven't mentioned, mostly because on the surface you wouldn't think they're interesting. But a radio duo that's clicking makes even the worst game interesting. We'll tell you why to care about the worst games today. That's all next here on Countdown to Kickoff on ESPN Radio.
Football Sunday on ESPN Radio. C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. Touchdown! Both undefeated, and they go head-to-head in Minneapolis this weekend. Coverage begins today at noon Eastern with kickoff at 1 Eastern on select ESPN radio stations.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% boost on deposited money, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth for just $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
Is it just me? Or does it sound like the universe is sending a message? I be rocking Tommy John. Maybe it's time to really listen.
Tommy John.
To Tommy John.
Tommy
Tommy John underwear has dozens of comfort innovations like outrageously soft, lightweight fabrics that can keep you 2 to 3 times cooler than regular cotton.
Tommy John, Tommy John.
With thousands of 5-star reviews and over 20 million pairs sold, people love Tommy John. One Tommy John fanatic raves, love the summer weight and breathable fabrics, just the right support. And everything's backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee. Shop Tommy John now for huge summer savings. Get 25% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/stream. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/stream. See site for details.
Close your eyes and imagine waking up in a cozy room on your comfy bed and your stomach instantly growls. Well, when you stay at Baymont by Wyndham, all you have to do is walk downstairs to their Baymont Breakfast Corner. It's more than just a meal. It's a warm welcome to your day. Picture yourself enjoying fluffy waffles, crispy cereal, and a glass of chilled orange juice, or a hot cup of coffee, all on the house. Start your day the right way with Baymont by Wyndham. Come on in. So glad you're here. Book now at wyndhamhotels.com/Baymont.
This is an ad from BetterHelp. As kids, we were always learning and growing, but at some point as adults, we tend to lose that sense of curiosity and excitement. Therapy can help you continue that journey, because your back-to-school era can come at any age, and BetterHelp makes it easy to get started with affordable online therapy you can do from anywhere. Rediscover possibility with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/teamwork today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/teamwork.
Hey, fans! Welcome back to Fansville's Cheers and Tears. Oh. Okay, so like everybody deals with losing, right? To a rival on a last-second field goal. Whatever, it's fine. I'm totally fine. But I cope with losing with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Those 23 flavors are like so delicious. They totally wash away the pain of your college football team taking a big fat L. College football. It's a pepper thing.
It is countdown to kickoff here on ESPN Radio. Tune in for a football doubleheader today. You got the Vikings and the Texans. I don't know who's on the call. I know who's doing the sidelines. That's Myron Metcalf. Followed by the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Coverage begins at noon Eastern on select ESPN radio stations. Hopefully yours is one that has been selected. He's David Dennis Jr. I'm Matt Jones. Now, we've talked about big games. Anybody can talk about big games. But can you talk about the games that suck? The games that people don't want to watch. David is a master at telling people to watch things that otherwise they wouldn't. So I'm going to give him one of the sort of lower tier games and get him to sell you why you should tune in. That's here on No Huddle.
It's time to go around the National Football League.
No huddle. I'll call the play from the line. Defense will never know what hit them.
This is the No Huddle.
Ron Richmond, 96 double.
All right, so Dave, we're going to act like we work for like that Mad Men company.
Okay.
All right, where we're trying to sell a product. What's the first game?
Packers at Titans.
All right, David, sell it.
Will Levis is going to do something that we have never seen in the history of the NFL. Maybe it'll be a behind-the-back pass interception. Maybe he'll just go out there, blindfold himself. Who knows what a creative way he'll come up to turn the ball over. It's like when you watch Vince Carter dunk and he comes up with a new dunk you've never seen before. Will Levis is the turnover version of that. He's going to do it, and then he's going to have a reaction. He's going to scream. He's going to get some dirt off the ground and throw it in the air or something like that, and it's going to be the most memeable thing we've seen. Will Levis, turnover machine, is the reason to watch the Packers and the Titans.
I like it. My answer would be, you ever been jilted by a woman, and it was like probably the right decision, and you know it, but you still want to throw it in their face sometime that something's good, even though it made sense? That's Malik Willis. It perfectly made sense for them to let him go. Like, honestly, he had let himself go a little bit. She had to move on. She was more advanced in her life. Titans let her go. But you know what? He still has pride. He still wants the Titans to have won, and he's going to go down there today and say, yeah, you kicked me to the curb, but you wish you had me now, right? The Malik Willis revenge tour is what I want to see. What's next?
Giants at Browns.
Good luck, David.
All right. Giants and Browns. What we're going to see here is we're probably going to see one of the only times in which the Browns starting quarterback is not the worst quarterback on the field. And that is because of one, Daniel Jones and what he provides to the Giants. We're going to see.
This is a struggle of a sell. Watch it because one guy won't be the worst quarterback.
One guy won't be the worst quarterback because you will have better statistics for the Browns quarterback than you do for Daniel Jones. That's all I got for you right now.
That's all you got. All right, here's what I will say. I would say tune in, because soon we're going to be saying goodbye to that Giants coaching staff, and it would be nice to give them a farewell. You know what? You liked watching them. You watched Hard Knocks, right? That was fun. That GM seemed nice. He's got a beautiful family. You know, as soon as they got rid of Saquon, you knew they were on thin ice, and they're probably all going away, the GM, the coach. So it's hard to say goodbye. Boys to Men told us that a long time ago. Watch the game today, kind of give Brian Daboll a fond goodbye. Let him blow up in anger at least one more time. I think that'll be the reason. What's next?
Bears at Colts.
Bears at Colts. Why do I want to watch this game from Indy?
You're going to watch this because this is actually going to be the Caleb Williams game. This is going to be the game where we look at him and we say, all right, this is the guy that is going to be a franchise quarterback that may get on that list we just talked about one of these days for being great. I think this is the game that Colts defense, they give up points. We're going to see, not that great of a team go against the Bear squad. Hopefully the offensive line plays with a little bit of pride after they were just destroyed last week for the way that they were giving up sacks. This is going to be the game where we say, all right, I see what the thing is with Caleb Williams. They're going to Bears are going to go 2-1.
I'm going to watch the game because I'm a Bears fan, but I actually think this game is I wouldn't have even put it on this list because I actually really think it's an interesting game. Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson. I have predispositions about these guys. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a star. I've always thought Anthony Richardson was going to be a bust. This is a game to kind of see, are my predispositions, David, real? Is Anthony Richardson ahead of Caleb Williams? Even though in my mind I don't think he has nearly as much of potential. Is Caleb Williams, you're right, that defense is bad. If he's not doing well against this team, maybe these first two games were not a fluke. So this is kind of to see what in my mind I think about Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson, David. This is the game to see, are my predispositions correct, or was I just a hater on the guy coming out of Florida and a happy guy about the guy coming to my team?
Yeah, I got you. I feel you. That's the Anthony Richardson thing is he looks good against the Texans. He looked pretty good against them. Did not look good against the Packers. So we're going to see. I think it'll say a lot which quarterback looks best coming out this game.
All right, what's next?
Chargers at Steelers.
By record, this should be an exciting game. I haven't been feeling it. David, make it exciting.
Either the Chargers or the Steelers are going to be 3-0. The Steelers may be 3-0. Justin Fields may be quarterbacking a 3-0 team right now. If the Steelers go 3-0, I don't care what happens for the rest of the season. You wheel a trophy, Coach of the Year trophy to Mike Tomlin's house right now and put his name on it. The way that this season started and all the chaos that was going on with the quarterbacks, if they go 3-0, he's locked in for another Coach of the Year.
Yeah, for me, you sell this game not on the Chargers. I can't think of a team that has less of a personality than the Chargers. You may remember one time on this show we said, call in if you're a Chargers fan, and we couldn't find anybody that would admit to it across the country. For me, it's about the Steelers. I want to see what happens when a dude who I've always thought, even when he was great, was as lame as he could be, which is Russell Wilson. If Justin Fields wins today, Russell Wilson ain't playing this year.
That's it.
He ain't playing. It's going to be Justin Fields' team. And that, to me, will be fascinating to watch. You bring this guy in, and he ain't even going to play. David, Russell Wilson was a Hall of Famer 5 years ago, and now he's going to have two mediocre to bad teams that tell him he can't play.
And what's interesting about the Russell Wilson thing, what is he wearing? Is he going to go full pads on the sideline again? Are we doing? Is he dressing up the whole time? Is he doing full eye black under there the whole time this time? Is he going to do that for the whole season even if he does not play?
That's a really good point. And what's the final one?
Panthers at Raiders.
Uh-oh. David, I'll let you go first. Why am I watching Panthers at Raiders while the Ravens and the Cowboys are on?
You're watching Panthers at Raiders if you were at the bar and it happens to be on the television while you're watching something else. That's all I got for you right now. Because I'm putting this. There's a slate of WNBA playoff games that I'm watching. Like Caitlin Clark is going to be playing during Panthers and Raiders. So if I go into a bar and it's all football, I want all football and some WNBA on the TV, and I don't want Panthers and Raiders on any television at that bar.
Let me give you a quick reason why. When I was a kid, my grandparents would take me to Lee's Famous Recipe to eat.
Okay.
It wasn't particularly good, but you know what? It was okay. And it gave me memories of my grandparents, and the food was all right, and it makes me think of them fondly. For me, that's Andy Dalton. He was all right. Like, he kind of reminds me of an era where sometimes I was doing fun things and watching him lose and betting against him. Andy Dalton is Lee's Famous Recipe, and I get to watch him play today, and I'm not sure how often I'll ever get to do that again. One more round with Lee's Famous Recipe and Andy Dalton. That's why you watch the game today.
Shout out to Andy Dalton and his unseasoned chicken.
Coming up to the defending NFC champions are limited today. We'll talk about it next.
Greeny.
Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels have the skills, talent, have everything it takes to be great. We throw these kids out there to sink or swim week 1.
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Okay, everyone, what did you think of the chocolate bar?
It's too chewy.
Feels kind of chalky.
Too much nougat.
I need to go brush my teeth.
Business is booming for Steph's small marketing research firm.
After all these focus groups, there's only one conclusion. I need more researchers.
And she's way too busy researching.
Does this have peanuts?
To waste time researching resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This college football moment is brought to you by ServPro.
College football teams have moments they recovered from and made it like it never even happened. For instance, on September 21st, 2019, UCLA trailed Washington State 49-17 with under 7 minutes left in the third quarter. From that point forward, the Bruins erased that 32-point deficit, outscoring the Cougars 50-14 to win 67-63.
ServPro, like it never even happened.
Hey, just the socks. Thanks.
Great. Name, birthday, email address, shipping address, billing address. How many fire hydrants do you see? How'd you hear about us? Can we text you?
Forget it.
If your online store doesn't use Shopify for checkout, your customers will just, check out. Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other leading e-commerce platforms. That means fewer abandoned carts and more for your business. So switch to Shopify at shopify.com/play and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/play.
We're brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like how you'd check that you've got your tickets first before heading to the game. Or like how you'd check you've downloaded the latest episodes of your favorite podcasts before hitting the road. Checking first is smart, and it's easy. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. Because with Allstate, you get reliable coverage and great protection. And while both can save a football game, they can also save your wallet. Visit Allstate.com or call a local agent today to see how much you can save. You're in good hands with Allstate. Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Picture this. You arrive at your hotel. You have an important online meeting lined up with clients from all across the country. You have your laptop open, ready to begin, and the Wi-Fi is so terrible, you can't even connect. These types of stressful situations happen all the time, but they don't have to. When you book a room at La Quinta by Wyndham, you have access to their free high-speed Wi-Fi, so you can take care of those critical emails, join your meetings on time, and even unwind by streaming your favorite shows without having to worry. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book direct at lq.com.
College football fans. What's the best part of being at a game live? The color. There's nothing more exciting than seeing an entire stadium completely decked out in your team's colors. So why not add to that and put yourself right in the middle of it all? Because that color encompasses everything, from the tailgating and the fight songs to the marching band halftime shows. So let your true colors show and get ready to yell and cheer until you're blue in the face by scoring tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets today at Ticketmaster.com.
Monday, Carlin versus Joe, noon Eastern, ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Ed Benkin. 7 early NFL games are an hour away from kickoff. One quarterback is in, another is out. Despite dealing with a high ankle sprain, Justin Herbert is active for the Chargers and will play against the Steelers. In Nashville, the Titans won't face Jordan Love when they battle the Packers. He is inactive for the second straight week. Former Titan Malik Willis gets the start for Green Bay this afternoon. Meanwhile, Tennessee running back Tajay Spears is active today. Colts receiver Michael Pittman is active for his team's home game with the Bears. Also active today is Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He will play against the Saints today in New Orleans. On Football Sunday on select ESPN radio affiliates, we have the Texans and the Vikings. Later today at 4 Eastern, it's the Dolphins and the Seahawks. As the Seahawks get ready to face a Miami team without quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Alan Love, the safety for the Seahawks, says it's time to adjust to Skylar Thompson.
Going to this game, you kind of have just to be prepared for anything because you don't know what to expect with this new guy under center. The timing might be a little different for certain things. They might run certain plays, certain packages more.
Love of the Seahawks are a 6.5-point favorite on ESPN Bet. Baseball tonight on ESPN Radio. It's the Phillies and the Mets from New York, Philadelphia trying to wrap up the NL East. New York trying to stay 2 ahead of Atlanta in the wildcard race. The Braves will play later today against the Marlins. WNBA, Aja Wilson wins the league's MVP award. 4 playoff series tip-off today. 3 of the 4 on ESPN, 1 on ABC as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever play at Connecticut. They'll tip off at 3 Eastern.
Hi, this is Evan Cohen. Join us Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern for Unsportsmanlike. Colorado uses a Hail Mary to end up winning a game in overtime. They have 2 Heisman candidates. Dion has this program rolling, and they're not playing good teams. We'll discuss Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern on Sportsmanlike on ESPN Radio.
Football. I've been waiting a long time for this moment.
The time is here! The time is now!
This is the Countdown to Kickoff on ESPN Radio.
It is Countdown to Kickoff here on ESPN Radio. 1 hour away from kickoff of the early games. Lots of good games on the horizon today. Eagles Saints probably the biggest of the early games. You're a Saints fan, by the way, David. Are you feeling good about your team's chances today against Philadelphia?
Feel pretty good. A.J. Brown's out for the Eagles. That's going to help a little bit. And that Eagles defense, that same team that gave up a touchdown up and down the field to Kirk Cousins in about 32 seconds, is going to give up a lot of points to that Saints squad. Derek Carr has scored on every drive, every possession, 15 for 15, I think, going to start the season. They're going to put up a ton of points. I don't even think it's going to be close.
Oh, you don't even think it's going to be close?
I don't think it's going to be close. They're just putting up numbers that are. Wow. I mean, there was a moment there when I watched the game last week against Dallas, and I was like, this looks like Breeze and Sean Payton out there throwing the Colts.
You got to slow
down. Now, is Derek Carr Drew Brees? Is Derek Carr Drew Brees? No, he is not. But that offense is humming.
Calling Derek Carr Drew Brees, and
just like I'm
talking about,
just like I predicted, just like I thought at the beginning of the season. I said, hey, if there's any guy that's going to look like an MVP quarterback, it's going to be Derek Carr. Don't want the Saints to get rid of him.
You think it's not going to be close? I mean, New Orleans only a 2.5-point favorite. You can take some of that big around the horn money out there and kind of put some on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Tony Reale to borrow some of his cash and put some money on the Saints and see what happens, man. I think that 2 points is not nearly enough.
Tony Reale money. That's a whole nother level. Well, all right, this afternoon there are 5 games in the late slate, which is good. I hate when the NFL puts like 2 games on the late slate. We all have Red Zone now. We can watch all of them. It's fine. They got 5 on the late slate. most people are going to be focused on the Ravens and Cowboys, and I understand that, but there's a game in L.A. with San Francisco, the 49ers, against the Rams that actually has, I think, huge repercussions for the NFC West. Right now, the Rams are 0-2. Mm-hmm. You go 0-3, we've talked about. Only 4 out of 162 teams that have gone 0-3 end up making the playoffs. But then if you're the 49ers and you lose this game, in which you're 6.5-point favorites, then all of a sudden you're 1-2 and not only tied in the division, you also lose the tiebreak to the Rams. So this is a huge game for the two of them, and there are a lot of people out. McCaffrey out. Deebo Samuel out. George Kittle out. Cooper Kupp out. Puka Nacua out. Like all these guys out. So you're going to basically see the second units. We've seen the 49ers second units over the last 2 weeks. Had some success, but also disappointing on the road. What do you think happens today in L.A. in a game that I think has huge repercussions for the end of the season?
Yeah, it does. I mean, this happens every year in the NFL, obviously, as you know. You have a team, you have a couple teams who you think you have high hopes for. The injuries just get them. The injuries just get them, and they derail the entire season. But right now, the San Francisco 49ers may be that team, but I think they have the ability to weather the storm, but they have to win a game like today, and to stay afloat. What concerns me about them is they just looked like they were being outplayed from jump against Minnesota last year. Like, they did not look like – that wasn't a game that they gave away. That wasn't a game that slipped out of their fingers. They were outplayed from the beginning of that game. Now, if I'm the 49ers, I take solace in the fact that, hey, Brian Flores just has Brock Purdy's number. He just knows how to confuse a guy. He knows how to, he had the fewest amount of points last season against Brian Flores. Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins beat him, 43-13 a couple years ago. You could say, hey, maybe that's the case. But you got to show me something. And right now, this game looks like it may just be between Purdy and Matt Stafford. And if that's the case, who can make lemonade out of whatever they have,
yeah,
right?
You don't want to make lemons out of lemonade.
You make lemonade.
That'd be a pretty poor concoction.
They didn't teach me analogies at Davidson. So you got that. So Matt Stafford. It's down between who's going to be the best quarterback to make the most of it. And I have more faith in Matt Stafford.
Actually, kind of thinking about it, you'd have to be more talented to make lemons out of lemonade.
Yeah.
That would be a very difficult thing to do. That would defy the laws of physics. I'm a big schedule guy. I look at the schedule and say, okay, what happens? All right, so if the 49ers, let's say they were to lose and go 1-2. Now, they do play the Patriots and then the Cardinals. So let's say they even get those, even after going 1-2 and they're 3-2. But then let me read you the next few games. At the Seahawks, home to the Chiefs, home to the Cowboys, at the Bucks, home to the Seahawks, at the Packers, at the Bills. That's a heck of a stretch of games. And Jordan Love's probably back by then. And so if there's going to come a point here where you can't keep dropping games. If you're the 49ers at the start of the year, you were sitting there saying, I got the Vikings, I got the Vikings, Patriots, and Cardinals 3 of the first 5 weeks. I'm coming out of the first 5 weeks 4-1 at least.
Yeah,
if you come out like 2-3 with that gauntlet coming afterwards, all of a sudden your hopes of hosting in the playoffs, they go down quite a bit.
And I'm not going to just pencil that Arizona Cardinals game as a win for the 49ers. I'm a wait and see on that Cardinals team because the way that the Cardinals have looked good the first 2 games this season.
Well, let me ask you about the Cardinals. They play the Lions. They play the Lions today.
Yeah.
There was a couple moments where you saw why Marvin Harrison was, by some people's account, the best player in the draft last week. They got a Lions team that, looked vulnerable. I look at it. Detroit's only a 3-point favorite, and there's a part of you that goes, wait a minute, but is this a game that at 6:30 after you turn off the WNBA playoff game with Caitlin Clark, you go, wait a minute, the Cardinals are up 3 in the fourth quarter? Is that plausible?
It's possible. They gave Buffalo all they could handle. They kind of gave away that game against Buffalo. They had, I think, a double-digit lead at some point in that game, and then they came out and they smacked the Rams, right? They looked about as good in their win as anybody did last week. So the jury is still out on this Cardinals team because we know, Kyler Murray has a high-level receiver there. He can make some magic happen. He can make lemons out of lemonade with a high-value receiver out there, and he has one right now.
That's probably the best Kyler Murray has looked in what? 2.5 years, maybe.
Since he had DeAndre Hopkins on his team, right? Like since he had like a great receiver to throw the ball to.
And then I also think it's worth noting the defense. I mean, they held them to 3 points. The Rams team. Now I know they had injuries and all that, but still, you're holding the Matthew Stafford team to 3 points. That's pretty amazing. It'll be interesting. This NFC West, and then you have the Seahawks during that same slate hosting the Dolphins. Right now, the Seahawks are 2-0. Would you say they're the favorite? I mean, this division, I think, actually now maybe has 4 good teams in it. Oddly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the prediction was that the 49ers were going to run away with the division and run away with the NFC. The injuries have opened the door for a lot of wacky stuff to happen. The Seahawks have the benefit of a really light schedule for the first 3 games. Like, these are games that you expect them to win. There was no problem with that. I'm not sure how good that team is in the long run, but that doesn't matter if you can get a nice 3-game cushion over somebody.
If you win today, if you're the Seahawks, you win today, you can be 3-0. Then they go to Detroit next week. Let's even say they lose that. Then they host the Giants. So, I mean, you're looking at a Seahawks team that could easily start 4-1. Now, after that, things get a little harder. You get 49ers, Falcons, Bills, Rams, 49ers. So, like, you kind of got to be ready after that. But because they were disappointing last year, on their schedule, it's not – I mean, they have a chance to get off to a great start, and who knows what happens after that.
Yeah, and as you know, as we know, I am a Saints fan. And one thing you do not want to do is just bank on going up to Seattle and winning a game. Because that anything could happen when you go to Seattle. And when they position themselves to a point where they're at home and you have to start winning some critical games, things get real wonky. And if they have a couple of game cushion and now you say, I have to win both of these games to get Seattle to get a tiebreak or move up in the division, things can get really tricky for some of these teams.
Well, it will be interesting. Most of us this afternoon will be focused on Ravens-Cowboys. I did mention – You were saying you're kind of upset. You think the WNBA screwed up starting their playoffs today, right?
Yeah, I want the full playoff slate on Sunday against the NFL. I know that there's not always the most overlap between the fan bases, but I want to watch these games too. And so now I'm be split between not only 14. How many NFL games we've been playing today?
You got 12 to 13 today.
13 today and 4 WNBA games at the same time. Now there's 17 games I'm trying to watch today.
Yeah,
move the thing to Tuesday.
I think it's a good point that there isn't always the overlap, but if there ever was going to be an overlap, this is the year there's an overlap, right?
This is the year, yeah.
This is the year. I think there's a lot of sports fans, and I'll put myself in this group, that I didn't realize until I was preparing for the show today that the WNBA playoffs started today. I feel like for a lot of people, this is going to be their first exposure to the early rounds of the WNBA playoffs. And for it to go up against all of these games, I mean, they named A'ja Wilson the MVP this morning.
Yeah.
Right before the NFL slate. Like that, talk about not giving somebody winning their 3rd straight MVPs. Talk about not giving them their props. Sometimes I wonder with the WNBA, who is in charge of their marketing? Because it just feels like this was an unbelievably poor decision to start everything right now.
Yeah, and especially to celebrate somebody like A'ja Wilson, who I have argued has had, if you talk about the last 24 months of her career are as good of a 24 months as we've seen any professional athlete in a team sport ever have when we talk about the accolades that she's piled up in 24 months. She deserves sort of like a day to really highlight what kind of year and career she's had. And also, Caitlin Clark, who's obviously the big ratings boon for the WNBA. It's Caitlin Clark. And she may only have 2 playoff games that she's going to play this year. She has a tough slate against that Connecticut Sun. One of those games is today, and a lot of people aren't going to see it. Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to see it, but not as many as could have seen it if they put it on a different day.
They won't. And honestly, I think there's a lot of people listening now who probably didn't even know it was happening until we just said that. Now, Monday Night Football is a doubleheader. A lot of people don't realize that. Doubleheader tomorrow. And it's got a couple must-win games for teams. We'll let you know who's playing. And what do you expect when the Jaguars and Bengals have their seasons on the line? That's next here on ESPN Radio.
The hunt for October continues this weekend on ESPN Radio. The Philadelphia Phillies sitting high atop the NL East head to Citi Field to face the New York Mets, who are fighting for a wild card spot.
Right center field, it is gone. Bryce Harper.
Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text HATCH to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 42424. That's HATCH to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% boost on deposited money, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth for just $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Traveling with your furry friends can be rough. Just getting them to come along is difficult enough, so the last thing you want to worry about is finding a place to stay. But when you choose Baymont by Wyndham, your four-legged companions are invited because they know pets are family too. At Baymont by Wyndham, pets are not just welcome, they're VIPs. Baymont by Wyndham. Come on in. So glad you're here. Book now at wyndhamhotels.com/Baymont.
This is an ad from BetterHelp. As kids, we were always learning and growing, but at some point as adults, we tend to lose that sense of curiosity and excitement. Therapy can help you continue that journey because your back-to-school era can come at any age, and BetterHelp makes it easy to get started with affordable online therapy you can do from anywhere. Rediscover possibility with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/teamwork today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/teamwork.
Monday Night Football has not one but two games this week. A couple big ones. Jaguars and the Bills, the Commanders and the Bengals. You can watch them on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Plus. Do we have, Nick, we got the Manning cast this week, or are they off? I don't understand.
I'll find out.
I feel like they should force them to do it every week. Do you watch that at all, David? I think it's like really good, especially with Belichick on there now.
Yeah. I like to see it every week. They can't pick their own schedule. They think they're Myron Metcalf. Like they got to be there every week. Come on,
exactly man. Exactly right. I don't understand. Like it's one day a week. I think Peyton Manning has it set up in his buddy's garage next door, which it feels like it shouldn't be. All they do is sit there and talk. I feel like it shouldn't be that.
They are off tomorrow. They will be back week 5, Saints at Chiefs.
Week 5?
Oh.
So they do the first 2 weeks and they take week 3 and 4 off?
But they'll be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll do about 5 in a row. And then be off.
They're load managing. You can't load manage in Manning cast, man. What are we doing?
Managing. Wow. All right. I don't know. I think that's a really good show, and I don't understand why they don't do it every week. Nevertheless, I guess when you're the Mannings, you can do, as long as you get the contract, you can do whatever you want. Monday Night Football then tomorrow, Jaguars at Bills at 7:30 on ESPN, Commanders at Bengals on ABC. Both of these games, for the Jaguars and the Bengals, both of whom are teams that certainly have playoff and maybe even division-winning aspirations at the beginning of the year, You lose this game, you go 0-3. I think the Bengals will win, again, their game against the Commanders. Do you have any worry that the Bengals can't win at home in a must-win game?
I mean, no, I'm not really worried about that. I mean, this team, yes, they looked bad against the Patriots, but they look like themselves against the Chiefs, which is a team that is better than the Chiefs for most part of the game, and then you lose in the fourth quarter because Patrick Mahomes is just a madman. And so I think the Bengals should win, and it should be the part that helps them right their season, right? It helps them sort of get their season on the right track, and you have even more incentive to kind of win, especially if the Ravens lose today. You look at that, you say, hey, the best team in the league in the division is 2-0. We're better than the Steelers. The Browns are probably going to be 2-1. We feel like we're better than the Browns. They haven't shown us anything, especially at the quarterback position. And the Ravens are now 0-3. Let's get this thing going and go win this division.
Yeah, and they're at home, and I people who listen to the show know. Have you ever been to a Bengals Monday night or Sunday night game, David? But it is, if you were to look up sloppy drunk in the dictionary, you're going to see Cincinnati for a night game. I mean, I'm confident to say, everybody talks about the Bills, and by the way, the Bills are at home too.
I was about to say, that's tough competition in terms of a home crowd.
I'm just going to tell you though, the Bills are wilder. Like, they set things on fire and all that. But if you just want to talk about drunk and ready to fight, night in Cincinnati, there's nothing like it. You literally, I think they put these games together so they can show what happens if you get our two rowdiest fan bases in the country and just let them have all day to get drunk before national television. That's what you're going to see. The Bengals are underrated. Like, you go to a Bengals game, David, if you ever do it and it's at night, I'm going to suggest you take, like, protection. And I don't mean, like, for love. I mean for war. I'm just saying, like, you need to be ready for anything to happen, and that'll be like that tomorrow night.
Yeah, there's going to be some chaos. There's going to be a lot of chaos from two teams that probably will win. Like, that's going to make it even more chaotic. The fans are going to be going crazy. People are going to be going through tables, be setting each other on fire. Like you said, we're going to have hardcore matches outside of the
yes,
in Buffalo. It's going to be fun. And it's not even cold yet, so it's going to be even crazier.
The best thing I can say is, if you're an old school wrestling fan, Steelers Bengals in Cincinnati is honestly like an ECW fight from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Now, the Jaguars are going to the Bills. You've now just pronounced Buffalo to win that game. I'm picking the Jaguars as a potential, I don't know if I'm going to do it in the final segment, but a possible upset in Buffalo because I think it's so important to them. I've been surprised at Buffalo this year. You know, you mentioned barely squeaked out the win against Arizona in week 1. I just don't think we've seen from Buffalo what we thought we would so far this year. Are you confident in them tomorrow?
So I was worried about Buffalo going into the season. I was worried about them because of all that they lost in the with the receiving core, all that they lost defensively. And the injuries that happened right before the season started, I was a little concerned about how Buffalo was going to look. To me, this was going to be Josh Allen's MVP year to lose, right? Because he's going to have to carry this team, and if they're going to be a playoff team, it'll be because Josh Allen looked like, somebody who could, again, challenge Mahomes for best in the league. What I saw from them in Miami, I think a lot of people, because of what happened to Tua and because of all that stuff, kind of swept a lot of that game under the rug. That Buffalo Bills team looked formidable for that entire game. They dominated a Miami team that people had high hopes for. So if that's the team that shows up, not only are they going to beat the Jaguars, but they really have a nice slate to win that division.
Yeah, if you look at the Bills, if you look at the AFC in general, you probably would have slotted Miami as a potential playoff team, and now they're not, most likely. So that means, there are a lot more openings for people. Those Dolphins games look easier. What surprised me has been the rushing attack for the Bills so far this year. They have 238 yards on the ground. James Cook has looked great in the first two games. Ray Davis, the backup. Josh Allen's always been able to rush. The Bills kind of have old school, even though Allen's thrown for He's only thrown for 170 yards a game so far this year. It's been that rushing attack, which has been awesome throughout the first two games.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. It's a nice adaptation because they I have a lot of concerns about who Josh Allen's going to be throwing the ball to, how the offense is going to look being pass heavy. It was a smart move for them to switch to a run heavy offense. And that run-heavy offense still allowed them to come back against that Cardinals team. So they're, carving up some of these defenses. I like what Buffalo has looked like. Tonight will give us a good look at what to expect from them. If they lose this Jaguars team, then you say, okay, this is a Buffalo team that may struggle against some of these better teams. But if they look like they did against Miami, then we can talk about them and what they're going to do for the rest of the season.
I'm still surprised that the Mannings are not working.
Yeah.
It annoys me. And I'm also surprised, I don't know if you've watched, how good is Bill Belichick at TV?
Oh, yeah.
I thought, you watched Bill Belichick. When I saw that he was being pursued by all the TV networks, I thought there was never a more boring coach than Bill Belichick.
Right.
But on TV, he has been absolutely awesome. Have you enjoyed it?
I have enjoyed it. That just goes to show how much he hated those press conferences because that was a totally different dude in those press conferences than the guy we're seeing. He's like, whenever he raises his voice now, I'm like, who is this guy? I hadn't heard him raise his voice in a press conference in 25 years.
And he's funny. And if you watched the Manning cast last week, he clearly cannot stand Arthur Blank and the Falcons, likely for not picking him as the head coach because he was completely mocking them the entire time. And also, I'll note, same thing about Nick Saban. I would have never thought he would have necessarily been good as an announcer. And I think on game day, he's actually been great. So shout out to the two legendary coaches for getting the TV game done. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. If you're looking for a career path with flexibility, great pay, and benefits, just go on to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. The biggest game of the day is in Dallas. We'll tell you what's going to happen with the Ravens and the Cowboys. That's next.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Monday, we got Week 3 in the NFL in the books, plus another huge weekend in college football. And I'll recap it all in my Upon Further review at 7 a.m. Eastern. It's unsportsmanlike 6 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor. Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Check it out, the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence and camera control for easy access. At Verizon, you can get it when you trade in any phone from one of their top brands.
Any?
Any.
Even if it's 4 years old?
Yeah.
Even if it's 4 years old and I drop it on the sidewalk?
Yep.
Even if it's 4 years old and I drop it on the sidewalk, then a scooter runs it over, so now it's not just old and cracked, but shattered?
With Verizon, the answer is always yes. New and existing customers can trade in any phone from one of our top brands in any condition for the new iPhone 16 Pro with Unlimited Ultimate. Trade-in terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Spin your passion into a business with Shopify and break sales records with the world's best converting checkout. Let's hear that one more time. The world's best converting checkout. Shopify's legendary checkout makes it easier for customers to shop on your website, across social media, and everywhere in between. Now that's music to your ears. Any way you spin it, you can be a smash hit with Shopify. Start your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/records.
Hey, fans! Welcome back to Fansville's Cheers and Tears. Oh. Okay, so everybody deals with losing, right? To a rival on a last-second field goal. Whatever, it's fine. I'm totally fine. But I cope with losing with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Those 23 flavors are so delicious. They totally wash away the pain of your college football team taking a big fat L. College football. It's a pepper thing.
Is it just me? Or does it sound like the universe is sending a message?
I be rocking Tommy John.
Maybe it's time to really listen.
Tommy John.
To Tommy John.
Tommy John. Tommy John underwear has dozens of comfort innovations like outrageously soft, lightweight fabrics that can keep you 2 to 3 times cooler than regular cotton.
Tommy John, Tommy John.
With thousands of 5-star reviews and over 20 million pairs sold, people love Tommy John. One Tommy John fanatic raves, love the summer weight and breathable fabrics, just the right support. And everything's backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or it's free guarantee. Shop Tommy John now for huge summer savings. Get 25% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/stream. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/stream. See site for details.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Ed Benkin. We are a half hour away from kickoff for 7 early games on Week 3 of the NFL. Despite dealing with a high ankle sprain, Justin Herbert is active today for the Chargers and will play against the Steelers in Nashville. Meanwhile, the Titans won't face Jordan Love when they take on the Packers. He is inactive for the second straight week. And the Titan Malik Willis gets the start for Green Bay. Colts receiver Michael Pittman is active today for his team's home game with the Bears. Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson is active. He'll play against the Saints today in New Orleans. The Saints are a 2.5-point favorite over the Eagles on ESPN Bet. On Football Sunday, it's like ESPN radio affiliates. It's the Texans and the Vikings. By the 2-0 start, ESPN's Kimberly Martin says Houston believes it can be better as the season progresses.
The Houston Texans are 2-0 and still not satisfied. Despite all of their offensive firepower and wide receiver Nico Collins leading the league in receiving yards, quarterback C.J. Stroud and his teammates admit their uneven play leaves much room for improvement.
Later today on select ESPN affiliates, it is the Dolphins and Seahawks with coverage getting underway just after 4 Eastern. There was sad news in football this morning. Former Miami Dolphins running back Mercury Morris has died. Morris was part of a pair of Super Bowl winning teams in Miami, including the unbeaten 72 team. Mercury Morris was 77. To baseball, with the Phillies and Mets wrap up their 4-game series tonight on ESPN Radio with coverage getting underway at 6 Eastern. Philadelphia wins the NL East if it wins tonight's game. The Mets still 2 games ahead of the Braves. The race for the final wild card spot. WNBA playoffs tip off today. The first game coming up at the top of the hour on ESPN.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Monday, I've been the biggest Joe Burrow defender, and I'll tell you all, I'll still be, even if he loses to the Commanders on Monday Night Football. It's on Sportsman, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
It is Countdown to Kickoff here on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. We've been giving you the lead up to all the games today. Big day of football. Big nice day of college football as well yesterday, and the WNBA playoffs start as well. It has been a great show. As a matter of fact, am I allowed to say, David, we have had a good show, or am I not allowed to do that?
Yeah, we as participants of the same team are having a great show.
What about we, the listeners?
Now, how would you feel if a listener called and said, "Hey guys, we're having a great show today"? You know what I'm saying? You know, how would you feel about that? You say, "Hey, we did a good job going into the break. We did a good job answering the calls." How do the producers feel about that?
I would feel good because the goal of any entity is to make people feel like they're a part of it, not separate people and act as if you're above them, a la David Dennis Jr. You know, for me, I want the fans to feel like that if you listen to Countdown to Kickoff, it is their show. We are a family.
Yeah, no, I'm better than everybody who calls in. Sorry.
Okay, well,
make sure that everybody. I want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm just that I'm better.
The Ravens.
Yeah, better, naturally better than them. That's why I'm on the show and they're calling in. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You know?
Wow. All right. The Ravens and the Cowboys kick off at 4:30 today. It is a game of the day. Tom Brady will sit in silence for many periods of time while they try to do it. As his play-by-play guy fills the time. But what he's
hold on. Get the Tom Brady thing. You've been throwing shots at Tom Brady the whole show. Tell me what's up with the Tom. What are you hearing from Tom Brady?
When I host shows, my thing is to remember what it was like for me as a fan. And one of the things that always annoys me as a fan when I would listen to media is the media are all friends with each other, and they will take vicious shots at players, coaches, etc. But then when it comes to other media, they won't say anything.
Right.
My view has always been, if I'm allowed to talk about Lamar Jackson, who can do things that I couldn't even fathom doing, then I'm allowed to talk about the dude who's talking about Lamar Jackson, right?
Okay.
So Tom Brady is, unfortunately, because he's too handsome and he's too everything, I don't want him to be as perfect as he is at stuff.
Okay.
But he's the greatest quarterback of all time. But he is not a good announcer.
Mm-hmm.
He is not. And what is amazing to me is that they put people like him with no practice in that position. And I know no one else will say it, but I'll say it. He's not any good at it. And so you got the Ravens and the Cowboys today. I'd love to hear Greg Olsen, who's like who's a great announcer, do it. And instead, I'm going to have to listen to Tom Brady learn how to announce a game in what may be one of the premier games of the year.
So what we're saying is that Tom Brady is the Bryce Young.
I'm not ready to say Bryce Young yet.
Maybe you want to bench him already? Is that what we're talking about here?
I'm not ready to say Bryce Young. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, like, he's more of the Bo Nix, I've got severe questions. All right? That's
okay.
That's who I'm saying. Bo Nix was the most talented dude coming out of high school. He's got amazing arm talent. I watch those Broncos games. I got questions. I'm just saying, for me, Tom Brady is like Bo Nix. I got some questions about why he's doing these games.
Okay, that's fair. I just wanted you to get your Tom Brady takes off and let us know if we should bench him, if we should start him, if we need to take some time. We need to bump him down to some high school games for a little bit or something.
He should do some high school games. Yes, he should for a little while. I'm just saying, the media has this thing where they will not criticize other media, but they will blast players. And I think that's so ridiculous. And then when somebody says something about a media member, they're like, "Well, I don't know if you can say that." And I'm not really like that. But that's probably why I'm sitting here in my house in Kentucky and not doing the pregame show at one of these other places.
I just want to point out that you call Kentucky "we," but the media, you say "they."
I'm they. That's exactly right.
Your actual occupation is that they. But for a basketball team that you watch from the set, it's we. But to the media is they. I got you. Okay,
I'm a they. All right. So the Ravens and the Cowboys, once you turn the mute on Brady, should be an awesome game. I think you're going to see the best of Lamar today. I'm a Lamar, as the kids would say, I've been a Lamar stan for a long time, even though he played for the team that is a rival to my team.
Okay.
Because I just love his talent. He's so fun to watch. I have a feeling today, after going 0-2, Lamar is going to put up an epic performance.
I'm with you. I think that this is going to be of the ilk of the Ravens games that we saw all last season. They beat the Miami Dolphins, 56-19 or something like that?
Yes.
They smacked, every playoff team that they came across last year, pretty much. I mean, they lost a couple games to the Browns, who ended up in the playoffs, but they weren't of that high echelon of team. The Ravens were beating down playoff teams because they show up when they feel like they have to face a playoff team. This is a detriment to, their coaching, to their team, and all that stuff. They don't get up for the games like the Raiders games where they should be beating the Raiders 56-19, but they're going to show up against this Cowboys, and I would not be surprised if I'm looking at this game the same way I looked at the Cowboys and Saints, where you blink and it's 21-0.
So let me ask you, because you're a Saints fan, you watched the Cowboys-Saints game probably more closely than I did. The Cowboys defense, which has been so good for the last few years, even through various struggles, just gets annihilated. Is that a fluke, or is this not the same Cowboys defense we've seen in years past?
So the Cowboys defense has stars, but not a great defense. It's what it seems to be like what we're looking at. We're looking at people who are individually maybe great, but schemes are not good. The secondary was getting carved up. They were getting no pressure on Derek Carr. Kamara was running through that defensive line. They were just being dominated at every level, at every stretch. You come back to Lamar Jackson, who is going to put as much pressure on that offensive line and is going to chuck the ball down the field. Like, I don't know how you make an increase from last week to this week that takes you unable to stop Derek Carr, and suddenly you can stop Lamar Jackson.
What people don't understand about Dallas, and Cowboys fans are not going to like hearing this, but because the Cowboys Stadium is such an impressive facility, and it's like one of those things that other teams' fans feel like they need to go to. Mm-hmm. Also because Dallas Cowboys games are such social events in Dallas, which is a social city. I think, oddly, Cowboy Stadium is not a great home field advantage. When I was watching that game, a lot of people were surprised. I wasn't, because I've been to Cowboys games to see this, at how many Saints fans were there. It's one of those things where I think people say, well, when we're playing Dallas, I'd love to go see that stadium, so I'll go. So their last 2 home games, if you count the playoffs last year, they've given up 92 points.
Yeah.
And part of it is because I don't think the Cowboy home field is like what people think it is. And the last 2 times they've played there, David, their defense has gotten run off the field twice.
The New Orleans fans threw a second line outside of the Dallas stadium after that game. They threw a full parade. That's how many Saints fans were there after the game. And I'm with you. I think that sometimes when you create a stadium and you have a franchise that becomes like, I've got to just go see the Cowboys, or I've got to just go be in that stadium, then it's less about that team, and you bring in, and when you have teams with big fan bases, New Orleans is right up the way. It's not that far. It's not that hard to get from New Orleans to Dallas. I mean, it's probably an 8-hour drive, whatever, but it's not that hard to get from New Orleans to Dallas. Green Bay has fans all across the country. All these people who say we because they like the Green Bay Packers, all across the country are going to fill up that stadium, and you have the same. You know, that's what happens there, and so you end up with situations where it does not necessarily feel as much of a home game as. And to defend those fans, the Cowboys have not given those fans much to cheer about in those games because they were getting blown out at the end of the first quarter.
I just want to say, by the way, if you are not a Cowboys fan, and at the end of this game today, the Ravens have won, especially if they've won by a decent amount, I'm going to be a company player and say whatever station down there is the ESPN radio station. I know there's 2 major sports stations. So whatever one's the ESPN radio station, look it up when it's over and listen to their postgame.
Oh, yeah.
I am telling you, the greatest, as someone who hosts postgame shows after every Kentucky game, I think ours are pretty entertaining. Ain't nothing like a Cowboys after they lose. The Cowboys postgame shows, David, after they lose, I listened to it on my drive after the Saints game last week when I was driving home from Green Bay. I couldn't, but like those people, they're so mad. They're so angry. They don't know who to be angry at, so they just rant at everybody. It is high-quality listening. If they lose today, find ESPN Radio Dallas and listen.
Yeah, that's the thing to do. Whenever any home team loses and they get dominated, listen to the local radio, and everybody's losing their minds. It's just incredible stuff. Hey, look, I was in New Orleans during the Les Miles era of LSU, and A-Bear out there on local radio was going crazy about Les Miles the whole entire time, and that was some of the best radio you ever hear.
That's exactly right. Hey, we're going to get our picks. Final segment. We'll let you know who's going to win every game. David will do better than Myron usually does. That's next here on Countdown to Kickoff on ESPN Radio.
The hunt for October continues this weekend on ESPN Radio. The Philadelphia Phillies, sitting high atop the NL East, head to Citi Field to face the New York Mets, who are fighting for a wild card spot.
Right center field, it is gone. Bryce Harper.
Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% boost on deposited money, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth for just $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
This is an ad from BetterHelp. As kids, we were always learning and growing, but at some point as adults, we tend to lose that sense of curiosity and excitement. Therapy can help you continue that journey, because your back-to-school era can come at any age, and BetterHelp makes it easy to get started with affordable online therapy you can do from anywhere. Rediscover possibility with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/teamwork today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/teamwork.
Close your eyes and imagine waking up in a cozy room on your comfy bed and your stomach instantly growls. Well, when you stay at Baymont by Wyndham, all you have to do is walk downstairs to their Baymont Breakfast Corner. It's more than just a meal. It's a warm welcome to your day. Picture yourself enjoying fluffy waffles, crispy cereal, and a glass of chilled orange juice, or a hot cup of coffee, all on the house. Start your day the right way with Baymont by Wyndham. Come on in. So glad you're here. Book now at wyndhamhotels.com/Baymont.
Hi, I'm Jason Alexander. Or as you probably know me, Royal Flusher 25 from WSOP Free-to-Play app. WSOP players, I have some free chips just for you. Go hit the tables like the legends you are. Download the WSOP Free-to-Play app where you can win rings and bracelets and tournaments and show them off to everyone at the table.
If you love poker, play poker with 1 million extra chips using this promo code, WSOPFREE1M.
College football fans, what's the best part of being at a game live? The color. There's nothing more exciting than seeing an entire stadium completely decked out in your team's colors. So why not add to that and put yourself right in the middle of it all? Because that color encompasses everything, from the tailgating and the fight songs to the marching band halftime shows. So let your true colors show and get ready to yell and cheer until you're blue in the face by scoring tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets today at Ticketmaster.com. We're brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by